What's up, everybody? How's it going? Happy Homebrew Wednesday. Today's brew day and we're doing something super exciting and special. Today I'm making my first Oktoberfest, which just happens to be my first lager. I've never lagered a beer before, so I'm super excited about that. Before I started brewing, a couple years ago, I didn't even know an Oktoberfest was a lager. Okay? My buddy's making an October ale. Doc, I'm talking to you, man. Send me a beer. I'll send you a beer. Before we get into the recipe, Chris and Ryan's Oktoberfest, I'm gonna explain who Chris and Ryan are here in a second and get more into the recipe. But first, I think we need to pour a beer. This was a Father's Day present to me from my wife. The 9 India Pale Ale from Iron Monk Brewing. One thing I really love about craft beer is the stories that are associated with it. The stories people tell over beers. The stories beer inspires. Late one night, we were walking home from the bar. I won't tell that one right now. But there's a lot of stories on the cans too. This one, real quick, it's called the 9 because in Norse mythology, Aegir was a friendly giant that lived with his murderous wife in a great hall under the ocean. In his spare time, he brewed tasty ales and shared them with the gods. Thank goodness. In honor of his 9 beautiful daughters, we used 9 different hop varieties to craft this juicy IPA. Would like to think it would be a hit with Aegir and his buddies. Okay. Brewed by Iron Monk Brewing in friendly downtown Stillwater, Oklahoma. Go Pokes! Let's try this out. IPA. It's delicious. I often complain that, so craft breweries make a lot of IPAs, we know that. I don't like all of them. For some reason, I'm not saying I wouldn't drink it if it was in front of me, but I always feel like I can do better. Or not always, but sometimes. This is a beautiful beer. So cheers, guys. Hope you're having a beer with me today. It's nice to be back on brew day. Okay, so Chris and Ryan's Oktoberfest. Chris and Ryan were from Livermore, California. I found this recipe for their Oktoberfest on the American Homebrewers Association website. If you're a member, you have access to, the different recipes, which is pretty cool. Most of them are award winners, or maybe all of them to get on the website. Chris and Ryan got the silver medal in the Amber European Beer category at the 2018 National Homebrew Competition in Portland, Oregon. Okay, so they got the silver medal with this beer among 273 entries. So we know it's a good beer. Let me take you into Beersmith real quick and show you my grain bill and what I plan to do with this recipe. And then when we come back, I'll tell you sort of the differences between mine today and what Chris and Ryan did. Okay, so Beersmith. So Chris and Ryan's Oktoberfest. Got my equipment profile set for the RoboBrew. Make sure you set this for whatever equipment you use so it really nails your batch size and efficiency. And of course, you can create this profile to tell it all these things. If you don't know, that's fine. So today, my grain bill, I'm using 6 pounds of Pilsner 2-row, Weyermann, German, okay? I'm using 4 pounds, 8 ounces of Munich Malt 10, 7 ounces of Vienna, and 4 ounces of Caramel Crystal Malt 60. Okay, then for the hops, it's only one 60-minute addition. You can see it's a 60-minute boil time total. So at 60 minutes, I'm adding 1.5 ounces of, It's German. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it right now. 4.2% alpha, a whirl flock at 15 minutes, and then I will be pitching my starter from last night. It's the White Labs WLP 820 Oktoberfest Marzen. Okay? So color-wise, looks like an Oktoberfest. And then in the range down here, you can see that everything fell in really nicely for an Oktoberfest Marzen. So I'm calling it Chris and Ryan's Oktoberfest because it was inspired by their recipe. Obviously, it's going to be a little different because I tweaked some stuff. Theirs was for a 10-gallon batch. Mine's only 5 gallons. So I had to cut everything in half. But where they use German Pilsner malt, it says use 12 pounds, 3.2 ounces. To cut that in half, it would come out to 6 pounds, 1.6 ounces. But I just rounded it off to 6 pounds, okay? And I did that with each of the adjunct grains in this blend. So it's not gonna come out exactly like Chris and Ryan's. Their OG was 1058. Mine is supposed to be 1056. They mashed at 152 for 90 minutes, raised to 168 Fahrenheit, and sparged out for 60 to 90 minutes. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna mash at 152 for 60 minutes, and then I'm just gonna sparge with 2 gallons of water to top me up to the 7-gallon mark. Okay, so obviously this isn't Chris and Ryan's beer, but I'm using the same grains and about the same ratio, so thanks Chris and Ryan. The Oktoberfest. And it's June. I'm making it in June because I'm gonna lager it for about 3 months. So late September, early October, we're gonna come back and swill some pints of this beautiful Oktoberfest. And yes, I have my stein inside ready to be used. Okay, so got the Robo Brew up to 152 degrees. We are mashing. The grist ratio, we're still going with the 1.3 quarts per pound like I normally do. I have 5 gallons and 2 quarts of water in the Robo Brew right now. You gotta account for the false bottom and the dead space down here. Check out my How to Robo Brew video if you want to know more about the specifics of that dead space down there and then how to deal with it, or how I deal with it. I think it was the Fresh Squished IPA, green to glass. But anyway, it says How to Robo Brew in my title, so look for that one if you wanna learn more about that. Okay, got it up to 152. Let's dough in. And as always, we're gonna stir in as we go, because if those grains clump together, it's gonna make a dough ball. We're not gonna get all the sugars out of those grains, because some of them are in the middle and they're not even touching the water. Okay, so we're trying to avoid dough balls. 1.3 quarts of water for every pound of grain. And surprisingly, having the lid open and taking a while to dough in, on the Robo Brew, it doesn't really lose much heat. There for a while, I was, putting my strike water at like 156 if I was gonna mash in at 152. Well, I thought because of the temp of the grains, it would bring the temp of the water from, 156 down to 152. Doesn't really work like that. The Robo Brew holds heat really well. So now I just set it for 152. Dough in. Let's see. It's still holding that 152. Okay, even though this lid's been off, even though I've been stirring it around. So one thing I've learned about the RoboBrew is just kind of set your numbers where you want them and it'll be fine. Okie dokie, I think we don't have any dough balls. It's looking pretty good. So what I'm gonna do now is put the lid on it. And since this is the RoboBrew and we have a pump, I'm gonna run it to pull that wort from the bottom and recirculate it back up through. That'll give us better efficiency, okay? Let's turn on the pump. I'm gonna dial it back just a little bit. And temp-wise, we're down to 150, but that's no problem because it'll come back up to 152 very quickly. Okay? So we're mashing. Let's mash for an hour. Okay? And of course I have my little brew day checklist, always. Mashing for an hour. While I'm doing this, I'm gonna heat 2 gallons of water to 170 Fahrenheit. And then as soon as this is done mashing, we're gonna pull it up. We're gonna sparge or rinse these grains with those 2 gallons of water at 170 degrees. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that heated up and we'll be back to sparge. Okay, our mash is holding steady at 152. I have to cut one of the burners. I have a 1,000-watt switch and a 500-watt switch. I keep it at 154. When it gets to 154, I cut the 1,000-watt. It gets back down to about, well, when it gets to 152, starts creeping to 150, I turn the power back on. So I hold it between 150 and 154. It fluctuates a little bit, but it's always worked for me. Right now, we have 43 minutes left to mash. And I just want to talk for a second about the lagering process and what I'm going to do. Okay, the White Labs lager yeast that I'm using today, it wants me to ferment at 50 degrees. I made a starter last night, and the question I asked Gail at the brew shop was, do I have to keep my starter at 50 degrees? I guess the answer is no, because in such a small batch, there's not going to be any off flavors caused in that 2 liters. Once I add it to the 5 gallons, it's going to be fine, okay? So I just made a starter, left it at about 68 to 70 degrees overnight. My other question was, I obviously can't chill my beer down to 50 degrees to pitch the yeast. She said what most people do, just chill it down like normal, 70, 75 degrees. Go ahead and pitch your lager yeast, but then put it in your fridge with the temp controller or wherever you're gonna put it and immediately start dropping the temp. So it'll probably take, I don't know, 5-6 hours. That's a rough estimate for my beer to get from that 70 degrees where I pitched down to the 50 degrees. Well, in that 5 hours, it won't start fermenting yet, but it'll give the yeast a little bit of a head start to get going, and then it'll be at 50 degrees. And that'll be fine. I'll leave it there to ferment for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I'm gonna raise it for the diacetyl rest. I'm gonna raise it to 62, and it's gonna sit there for 2 or 3 days just to finish fermenting and maybe to get rid of some of that CO2 that might cause off flavors. Okay, so 2 or 3 days at 62, and then after I know that it's done fermenting, after that rest, I'm gonna lower it 5 degrees per day and slowly get it down to 35 degrees. And then I'm gonna leave it there at 35 degrees for about 2.5 months. And that's when we're lagering. When it's sitting there at 35 degrees, we're lagering. But for now, we're still mashing. We got 40 minutes left. I'll be back when we're done. I'm getting this water up to 70 right now. Or sorry, 170. Okay. And then as soon as that's complete, the mash will be about done, so we'll see you soon. Okay, so we're done with our 60-minute mash. Here with about 15 minutes left, I was grabbing some scissors to cut some hose to trim it. My carboy, I had it sanitized, was sitting right here. I tried to step through, caught the top of it with my foot, and just exploded the thing. So my wife's been out here for the last 15 minutes trying to clean up all this dang glass. I'm gonna go ahead and sparge, and then my son and I are gonna run to the brew shop to get a new dang carboy. And then by the time we get home, it'll probably be getting close to boiling. So like I told her, thank God it happened now, because it takes this thing a little while to get up to temp. Okay. Happy brew day. It's great. It's fun. Okay, so what we're gonna do, let's get these grains up. Of course, I'm gonna lift slowly so I don't stick that mash. We'll let this drain out for a minute. I still have some glass on the floor over here. I know I still have some glass in my foot because I can feel it, but that's brew day sometimes, isn't it? Maybe not for you, definitely for me. We'll let this drain out just a little bit. Whenever it gets fully, for the most part, drained, I'm gonna see what water level we're at. I have the 2 gallons here at damn near 170 degrees. It was really good timing. I had to heat it back up. 165. Okay, well that's draining out. I'm gonna put a little more heat on this. Just a little bit. We're at almost 5 gallons, so it'll take that full 2 gallons. That'll be good. We got it at exactly 170. I'd show you, but I want to go ahead and get that in there. Got our gas turned off. Here we go. Let's sparge. I've got a nice screen in there that disperses the water. So I'm not just pouring this directly onto the grain bed. It hits that screen and disperses and then drains down through it evenly. Okay. So I can do some things right sometimes. So let's see where we're at. Yeah, we're over 6.5 gallons. We're almost to the 7 gallon mark. I'm not concerned about it that we're not there. It's fine. I really just try to get up to 7 gallons. Not that I get a lot of boil off, but with the trube in the bottom at the end, I like to take the big carboy, wish I had it right now. I like to take it up past the 5 gallon mark. So then when I transfer it to secondary, I can leave, a little bit on the bottom with the trube, and I don't get so much. So I like to make my batches just a little bit bigger. Okay, almost to 7 gallons, so this will be perfect today. I'm gonna boil for 60 minutes. So all I'm gonna do is pop this back on. I'm gonna bring this baby up to a boil, and in the meantime, I'm gonna run to the brew shop, get another 6 gallon carboy. I already got my hops weighed out. Of course, we're using this is the German pronunciation.
Hallertauer Mittelfrüh.
Hallertauer Mittel. I already got them weighed out. I got 1.5 ounces. So by the time we get back, hopefully it'll be getting close to boiling. And then once it starts boiling, we'll add the hops and we'll start our 60 minutes. Okay? Okay, so we reached a rolling boil while I was at the brew shop. Picked up a carboy handle, as well as a new 6-gallon carboy. So when I got back, obviously I had some boil over. I got wort running down the middle of my garage right now. It's all good. It's all good. You know, things like this happen. It's fine. We're gonna go ahead and get our hop addition in so we can start the time. We haven't gotten hardly any boil off, so no harm, no foul. Okay, 1.5 ounces of Hallertauer Mittelfrüh. Here we go, 1.5 ounces. Heck yeah. So we will start our clock. 60 minutes. And now I need a beer so bad. I have to go get lunch for my kid real quick. Since this is the only hop edition, we'll be fine. I'll be back in no time. So I'm gonna let this keep going and I'll be back to add the whirl flock, chill the beer down here in, I don't know, 45 minutes. Okay, be right back. Okay, so I've had the wort chiller. There's our time. Boils up, cut it off. I've had the wort chiller sitting in the boiling wort for the last 5 minutes or so, just to sterilize, okay? I sterilized it before I put it in there, in my sterilizer bucket, but now I'm just letting it get extra sterilized before I go chill the wort down, okay? So we've reached the end of the boil, we did flame out. Now the next time you see me, I'm gonna be outside and I'm gonna chill this thing down so we can pitch the yeast, okay? So today was a lesson, okay? The lesson is sometimes a lot of stuff goes wrong and it kind of builds up in your mind and feels like someone's just kicking you over and over and over. You know, we had the carboy fiasco. Then I get back from the brew shop and I had a boil over, wort all over my garage floor. I mean, that was really it. So the lesson is, relax, don't worry, have a homebrew. And happy brew days, guys and gals. I'm gonna go chill this wort down and I'll come back, put it in the carboy and pitch the starter from yesterday. Cheers. I'll show you in a second. So we finally got to the end. I got this chilled down to about 77 outside. It's probably around 75 by now because it's been about 10 minutes. Once I get it into the carboy here, it'll be even cooler. And then I'm gonna decant, which just means to pour off like the top. Maybe 1,000 milliliters, 1 liter of my starter here. Shake up the slurry on the bottom and then pitch it. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. All right. So I thought we'd never get here. We reached the end of a brew day. Parts of it were fun. It started off great, but man, you never know when everything is gonna go crazy and it's gonna feel like nothing's gonna go right. And that's still in my mind. Like, I feel like this was the worst brew day ever. But here I am with over 5 gallons, a good yeast starter. So no harm, no foul, right? I poured off, you know, about, I don't know, 800 milliliters of this. And now what I have left is the nice yeast slurry on the bottom, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and pitch my yeast. All right, here we go. You want a lot of yeast for your lagers, so. Look at all that slurry. This yeast is so healthy today, you know we're using a blow-off hose. Let's get it in there good. Oh yeah. Of course it loves aeration at first, not after it starts fermenting, but at first. Okay, that's it. My intended original gravity was 1056. Came in at 1055, so super happy about that. I'm gonna go put this in the fridge with the temp controller. We're gonna chill it down to 50 degrees as quick as we can, you know, in a matter of hours. And then we'll have a nice fermentation. Cheers, guys. Thanks for joining me. Heck of a brew day. Oktoberfest here in a few months. Can't have your cake and eat it too, right? So when I'm eating this cake or drinking this nice beer, I'll know what it took me to get here. And those are the best things in life, aren't they? Cheers, guys. See you next time.